You know that feeling when you finally decide to upgrade your home storage, you grab a cheap budget NAS off some forum recommendation, set it up, and then a week later you're staring at a blinking red light because the drives keep failing or the software just won't sync. I've been there, and the regret sticks around longer than the cheap hardware itself. That's why I wanted to see if the Synology DS225 Plus with its 16TB bundle of Seagate Ironwolf drives feels like a smarter purchase instead of another disappointment. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the DS225 Plus isn't just another box you throw in a corner. It's a 2-bay unit built around an Intel Celeron J4125 quad-core processor, paired with 2 GB of DDR4 non-ECC SODIMM memory that you can bump up to 6 GB if you ever need more headroom. The fact that it ships with two 8TB Ironwolf drives already tells you the manufacturer expects you to use it for serious data media libraries, backups, maybe a small home office file server. What matters most is how that hardware translates to everyday life, and that's where the Synology ecosystem shines. When I unpacked the DS225 Plus, the first thing I noticed was the simple, tool-free tray system. You slide the drive caddies out, snap the Seagate drives into place, and click the trays back in. No screws, no statusy moments, which is a relief if you're not a seasoned IT tech. The initial setup is guided by Synology's Diskstation Manager, DSM, software, which walks you through network configuration, drive initialization, and account creation. Because DSM 7.3 now officially supports third-party drives, the Ironwolves are recognized without the unsupported hardware warnings that older firmware versions sometimes threw. In real use, the DS225 Plus becomes the silent hub of my home media ecosystem. I pointed Plex to the shared folder that lives on the Synology, and the transcoding handled by the Celeron chip was smooth enough for 1080p streams on a couple of devices at the same time. When a family member tried to watch a 4K movie, the server fell back to direct play because the source file was already in a compatible format. No hiccups, no buffering. That's a practical strength. The processor isn't the latest i9, but for typical home media and file sharing loads it's more than capable. Data protection is where the DS225 Plus pulls ahead of many budget alternatives. The BTRFS file system gives you built-in snapshots, so if a file gets corrupted or you accidentally delete something, you can roll back to a previous version without pulling the whole drive offline. Synology's hybrid RAID (SHR) also means you don't have to be a RAID guru to get redundancy. With two 8TB drives, SHR gives you 8TB of usable space while protecting you against a single drive failure. That safety net is something cheap NAS units often lack or implement with clunky RAID 1 setups that waste half the capacity. Now, let's talk about the network side. The DS225 Plus ships with a single 2.5 GBE port and an additional 1 GBE port. If your router or switch supports 2.5 GBE, you can actually notice the speed difference when moving large video files across the local network. In my house, the router is still 1 GBE, so the second port becomes a backup path rather than a performance booster. The practical downside here is that you need a compatible network environment to truly leverage that faster lane, otherwise, you're basically paying extra for a feature you can't use. Who should consider buying this unit? If you're a creator who needs a reliable place to store raw footage, a family that streams a growing library of movies, or a small office that wants a centralized file server with easy backup options, the DS225 Plus checks the boxes. The built-in apps file station, photo station, surveillance station let you turn the box into a photo hub or a security camera recorder without adding third-party software. The ability to expand memory to 6 GB is also a nice safety valve if you later decide to run more Docker containers or enable heavy encryption tasks. Who should skip it? If you're only looking for a simple, plug-and-play backup drive that you'll never touch again, the price point might feel steep compared to a basic external HDD. Likewise, power users who demand raw performance for heavy virtualization or large-scale media transcoding might outgrow the Celeron in a few years and look toward a model with an Intel Xeon or AMD Ryzen processor. Also, if your network is stuck at 100 megabits per second Wi-Fi, you won't notice any of the 2.5 GBE advantage, making the extra cost less justifiable. A hidden trade-off that often pops up with 2-bay units is the limited scalability. You can't just add a third drive later, you have to replace one of the existing disks if you want more capacity. The DS225 Plus mitigates that pain a bit with SHR, letting you swap a single 8TB drive for a larger 12TB one and have the system rebuild the array automatically. It's not instant, but the process runs in the background, and you still retain access to the rest of your data. Another practical